Okay, so I'm going to ask Alison Roberts to come up. Ali's from the Integrated Care System, which is our new NHS Herefordshire and Worcestershire, which used to be Herefordshire and Worcestershire CCG. And I guess Ali will expand a little bit more about what that means, why it's important, and why they need a strategy.
Thank you, Christine. Good morning, everybody. And thank you for doing that intro, so I don't have to kind of go back over our ground. I was trying to work out how long ago it is since I came and stood here and actually talked about some of the integrated care system agenda. It feels like it could have been about a year, to be honest. Yeah. So some of you will have been here for that. But today, what's really important to me is that I have an opportunity to talk to you about the strategy, what it's aiming to deliver, what it's all about, but to listen to your views and to get your views. So we're sort of time constrained around that, but I'll talk in a minute about how that's going to work in terms of, I'm going to hand over to Mary in a minute, and then Impact are going to do some kind of workshop pieces with you. So I'm going to change the order of my slides. So kind of brief bit of policy piece. So the Health and Care Act, which gained royal assent this year and was implemented on the 1st of July, gave us an opportunity across integrated care systems to establish a joint committee between what is NHS Herefordshire and Worcestershire, or the ICB as you'll hear it called, the Integrated Care Board, and the two upper tier local authorities. So that's Herefordshire Council and Worcestershire County Council. And I think that's really exciting for us as a fairly small integrated care system, because what it's done is given us an opportunity to bring together a much broader range of partners with those three statutory organisations to have a conversation and to develop a strategy about actually what do we want the future to look like for people who live and work in Herefordshire and Worcestershire, and also specifically for people who work in health and care and kind of broader wellbeing and community organisations delivering support to people who live and work in Herefordshire and Worcestershire. So I feel like I'm absolutely in the right room actually for this conversation and to get your views. So the Integrated Care Partnership Assembly met sort of formally for the first time on 7th of October. As you'll see from the slide, it's jointly chaired by Councillor Crockett and Councillor May in Worcestershire. There's a really strong link to the health and wellbeing boards and the joint health and wellbeing strategies, hence the joint piece that we've got here today. But as importantly, it brings together a much, much broader range of statutory and non-statutory partners into that space, and has a single task, which is to develop an integrated care strategy for the future. So at this point, we're looking for the strategy to be over a sort of either an 8 or 10 year period. It's not set at this point. And I've come to you today as part of the sort of phase 2, really open engagement to get your views alongside many other colleagues I've been talking to, listening to over the last couple of weeks, and to develop a draft strategy that will then take out for broader kind of engagement and consultation in the new year. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my first slide. The purpose of the strategy is to set a vision for the future about how we deliver the 4 pillars of integrated care systems. So I think you've probably seen this before, and you're living and doing a lot of this anyway with your communities, but I think it's important to reflect on it. So it's all about improving outcomes for everybody in terms of population health and healthcare, so both aspects, tackling inequalities in terms of reducing disparities in outcomes, experience and access, and I think those are all really important. And in some of the conversations that I've had with colleagues, it's really around that personalised care agenda, looking at the quality of care and thinking about how we make services more accessible to everybody, and we drive down those barriers that might be in place historically. And I know there's again some good work happening across both counties around that. And on the right hand side, which is still important, we have a finite amount of money across all partners, so we have to work within that to be more productive, to be more efficient, to reduce duplication, to be more innovative about the way we provide that access to care. And then finally, on the right hand side, I think it's great to see a specific duty on the NHS that is embedded in the Health and Care Act around supporting that broader social and economic development, because again, that brings the NHS much closer to those here in the room and some of the organisations and partners. So that's the sort of scene setting aspect, because I'm probably nearly at 5 minutes already. Yeah. Okay. So this is a really high level structure of the strategy. So it's all about the joint strategic needs assessment. So the population health and wellbeing needs. So we're setting the scene for that in the strategy. And then it'll be about bringing together the joint health and wellbeing strategies across both counties and the priorities that are in them. So essentially, when we go through to the next part of this workshop, I will be listening to, taking the write-up from the input you give around those questions and those priorities, and building that into the strategy in terms of what you want to see as a priority within that. And then we're also going to be standing back as a much broader system across Herefordshire and Worcestershire, and saying, once we look at all of those things, so the existing strategies, plans, initiatives, to joint health and wellbeing strategies, around addressing those needs. Are there any gaps? Is there anything actually we need to work on together? Is there anything that we need to do quicker, faster, kind of better, where there's that absolute gain of working together across the system? I'm going to move on now before I get in trouble. There are two questions that I'm asking people, and this is designed to be really, really open. And if I can say anything, I would say I really, really want to get your honest and open views around this so we can understand what they are. So the first question is about what you want to see in the integrated care strategy, and our anticipations that will come through the joint health and wellbeing strategy workshop that you're doing shortly. So it's the second question really that I want you to reflect on, and when I finish speaking, just to write something down on a post-it note that you've got on your tables for me, and to pop it on the flip chart paper. So how do we need to work differently? So with your collective experience about where we've come from, what needs to be different about this strategy? What needs to be different about the way we work together? If we can understand, if I can understand and we can understand, and I can share that, what you need to see in this space, then we can feed that in and develop it into some commitments in the integrated care strategy for Herefordshire and Worcestershire. It's a really broad open question, but there's no stupid answers. There's no stupid, just say what you think, and then we can understand it and